everyone, it's Andy from the Writing Gym. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Writing Gym podcast. So all of the time we get requests from people asking, what do you guys really do in the Writing Gym? What's it all about? How can I get into the Writing Gym? What do I do next? So in today's episode, I have a very special tell-all with a very special VIP member from the Writing Gym, Andrew Parker. And Andrew shares with us his journey in writing, how the Writing Gym helped him. And this is a very special interview because Annalisa isn't there, so we really get the scoop. Thank you so much for listening. And of course, if you love these tips, but you're not quite ready for the Writing Gym yet, go to www.datewiththemuse.com/6secrets to pick up the 6 secrets to become a published author. And if you're ready to finally join the Writing Gym after hearing this fantastic interview, then go to www.datewiththemuse.com to schedule your hour-long session with Annalisa, completely free to talk about the next steps in your writing. Happy writing!
Hi, I'm Andy, personal trainer at the Writing Gym. I'm so excited to introduce you to this week's guest, but first, a word from our sponsor, the Writing Gym. You know, you could break free from feeling like your writing is never good enough. You know, you could write freely and achieve your publishing dreams. You're tired of rejection and lying awake till 2 a.m. wondering how you could have fixed your manuscript. Wallowing in self-doubt is not getting you any closer to your writing goals. You need real standards, real support, and real change. Are you ready to transform your writing and take it from the slush pile to publishable? We are currently accepting select writers in the Writing Gym VIP group, but you need to book your call with Annalisa first. Go to www.datewiththemuse.com/book-a-call. I promise you won't regret it. So this is the portion of the podcast where I would usually introduce you to Annalisa, but this week is a little different. Today, we're having a little tell-all session about Annalisa with one of her clients, and we get the pleasure of talking to him today. So, you're probably all wondering who this man is. I would like to introduce you all to Andrew Parker. Andrew lives in a remote valley in the western Wyoming mountains. The nearest traffic light is 40 miles away. The next nearest, another 10. His 26 years practicing as a mental health and substance abuse treatment professional lends perspective on people that is helpful in his writing. While he dabbled with a few short stories as a kid, Andrew only started seriously writing 2 years ago. And while sci-fi is his favorite genre, he does enjoy the variety that comes with cross-genre writing. One of his biggest inspirations when writing is music. And of course, because he's working with Annalisa and she is an expert in this, he has an aversion to outlines and plotting and is a 100% pantser. Thank you so much for joining us today, Andrew.
Thank you, Andy.
So why don't we start right off, and why don't you tell me a little bit about your writing? What are you currently working on?
Well, that is the question, isn't it? I've got 2 manuscripts that are complete manuscripts that I'm doing revision work in. And that's just some basic revision work because I need to learn how to revise, and that'll require the publishing mastermind. And then, I don't know, I always feel a need to continue to be doing some creative writing. So I'm working on a couple of short stories. I'm working on something that may or may not turn into a novel. I'm not quite sure whether it'll be that or several different short stories. But that's mainly what we're working on right now.
So you have 2 completed works right now?
I do.
That's crazy. And you only started seriously writing 2 years ago, and you've completed, pretty much a novel a year at this point, right?
Yeah, June, 2 years ago. I thought about writing for years and years and years. Always wondering how. You get books on how to write, and they always start with that nasty old word, outline. And I haven't written an outline since elementary school. Middle school, high school, I'll just take the thing, but I just don't do outlines. So I think what happened is I was listening to some music. We might talk about that more today, but I started formulating a story in my mind, the scenes, got online, read a couple things that Dean Koontz is one of my favorite authors, as is C.J. Box and a few others. But something Dean Koontz said, and then I came across something on the internet that Stephen King said, like, just sit down and write a story. Just write whatever comes to mind. Don't worry about the order or anything else. Kind of that support for the pantsers approach, which is not a term I learned by Matt and Lisa. But so I did that, and I sat down and I wrote this scene, and I don't know, about 4 hours later, I stopped thinking, I thought, well, I didn't like this. It was fun to write. You know, that concept of being a discovery writer, I didn't know what that was, but it's like picking up a book myself. And just as I was writing it, I was getting to find out what was happening. So that turned into my first novel, my first manuscript, and I probably worked on it for, I don't know, 14, 15 months. And then I decided to do something different for the NaNoWriMo last November. So I really didn't have an idea. I just pictured a scene in the mountains. I wrote it and then just went from there. And that's a manuscript I completed in the writing gym, which is probably the first one I'll be looking to get for publishing.
That's so exciting. And for those of you listening, I was the personal trainer to Andrew while he was in the writing gym. Andrew, why don't you talk a little bit about that experience? How did you first hear about the writing gym?
Yeah, you know, like I think a lot of us, I was wandering around out there feeling kind of isolated, not knowing what to do, looking for some support. I'd looked into writing groups. I'd read a lot of bad things about Bailey and things like that. So I was in that kind of a group. And I just stumbled across, I did a search on Facebook for writing group. And Write to Publish was one of about 3 that showed up. And actually, I told Annalisa, those are pictures. It was just professional looking, serious, not too serious. It's good because it's not too serious. So I tried to join that group. I joined that group, and you know, it's just the process of interacting on Write to Publish. I learned about the writing and what it was, and it sounded like it really fit what I thought I needed. So I booked the call.
and now you're here with a completed novel.
Yeah.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, proof that the writing gym works.
The writing gym does work. I mean, we have to work too, but yeah, the writing gym will, I mean, it's not just about completing that draft. It's about completing something that's pretty well written.
Yeah, and that's something Annalisa really worked hard in creating the writing gym programs, you know, whether that's the VIP group or the mastermind or the various retreats that she has. And something that she does that's so different from other writing programs and classes and things is that rather than her just, you know, giving you a book or a pamphlet or, you know, making you read a textbook and saying, you know, these are the things that you need to do. Because, you know, everybody's done that. Every writer probably has, you know, shelves full of books on writing. They probably, most of them quite literally have On Writing by Stephen King.
I'd recommend it, yeah.
It's a good one, guys. Pick it up.
It is.
But, you know, you can read those books till you're blue in the face. But while those books give you, you know, some ideas of what works for those people, maybe that's not exactly what you need. And maybe you work a different way. And I think that what's so interesting to me about the writing gym programs is that Annalisa approaches each writer differently.
Very much so.
And so, you know, for you, you're a pantser. You know, you don't write an outline. You don't thrive on that kind of structure that comes from having an outline. So, you know, how she would coach you, how she would approach, you know, your novel and how you write your novel is completely different from someone who has like an exact outline with every single little detail of every single chapter perfectly planned out and, you know, charts full of character arcs. And I think that that's such an important distinction because approaching a writer that way and realizing we're not all the same. You know, we're human. We're all different and we all work differently and thrive differently. and finding a program where, although we're all different and work differently, we support each other and help each other along the way, and a lot of times learn completely other ways of working that push you forward.
Right. I think, there's some parallels in what I do in my career and what Annalisa does in hers. I'm a mental health therapist. So in terms of, giving usable feedback and teaching to the needs of the individual and things like that, I understand the value of that. And the thing is one of the things I needed from the writing gym was craft. I told her I wrote this novel that was the first one, the sci-fi flick book. I think big screen for it someday. But anyway, but when I read it, I know there's just a lot wrong. The story's okay, but the prose just had all kinds of problems with it. But I can't figure out what's wrong with it. And it's really that lack of craft that I had. And it's interesting because after I graduated from the writing gym, I took that old manuscript back out and I looked at it, and I had two impressions. One is I can't believe I even considered possibly trying to submit it in the condition. It was such a mess. And then the other was as I read it, I could see just clearly what the problems were, and it was so easy to correct. So, that's something I've been messing around with over the last few weeks. And out of a 300-page manuscript, 49 pages in, I've got 8,000 words already. That does not take anything away from the story, just cleaned it up and made it so much easier to read. So that combination of craft, so the writing gym provided me with knowledge on how to write and what that looks like, but then that custom component with a coach who could really help me deal specifically with my needs, with my manuscript, with my learning. And that to me is the magic. Because like I said, you can read about how to do something all day long, but how you apply that uniquely with your own style and within your own writing, that takes a little more personal guidance.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, that's the special touch that she has. It's not just, you picked up your old manuscript and you could see like, oh, this is exactly what was wrong. And, before that, you looked at it and you knew something was wrong, but you didn't know what it was.
I have no idea.
What this program does is teach you, this is exactly what's wrong. And also, this is exactly how to fix that. And that's something, moving forward as you write, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a 100th novel, you're going to have those craft skills and have the ability to know, that your plot is going exactly as not as you want it because you're a pantser. So exactly in the direction that you had an idea of, and that, your character arcs are strong and that your pacing is on point. And having those kind of skills and knowing how to apply them to your writing is something that you're going to use for the rest of your career.
Yeah, and really nothing prepares us for that. I told Annalisa, I really learned more about writing, and I mean specifically writing fiction, in 8 weeks in the VIP program, the writing gym, and in all my public education in college. And granted, those English classes I took weren't supposed to teach us how to write novels. And granted, I was probably a lot more dedicated student in the writing gym than I ever was in school. But the fact is, unless you're somebody like Stephen James, who was a master's in storytelling or something, most of us need that. I mean, I write nonfiction in terms of clinical stuff in my work and stuff, and that's fine. But that is a whole different genre than fiction, basically. So it was just extremely valuable to me.
Yeah, and I think that that's, so many writers that we get in the writing gym have gone to various conferences or seminars or, paid, for millions of books about writing and purchased conference tickets and gone to this retreat and that retreat, and nothing's ever really worked out. And it's been such a pleasure. And I know that you have this moment, and every single writer who's come through the writing gym, it's something that I tell everyone in their very first meet and greet coaching session, is at some point during this 8-week journey, you're going to have an aha moment. And, for some people it's the first week, for some people it's the third week, for some people it's the 6th week. It just depends, where you are in your own journey, but you have that aha moment where everything just kind of clicks. And then people come into the training, the personal training sessions, and they're like, I wrote 4,000 words in a day. I don't know where it came from, but it just clicked and everything finally happened. And it was because, I finally watched this one module, or, I went to Salon and the prompt really inspired me. And now I've got this whole new chapter. And it's so amazing to me to see that aha moment happen for every single writer that we've seen graduate from the program.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot for the program itself. You make a couple points that I think are really relevant to me. I learned years ago in my profession that we do continuing education and development all the time. For one thing, we need to be good at what we do, but also licensure requires it and things like that. And I kind of found that a lot of the conferences, and I'm not dissing on conferences, but it's hard in a 1.5 hour breakout session to get the kind of depth you need to learn something so you can apply it. And there are exceptions. I mean, I've seen, because it's part of the writing gym, film of Annalisa doing a breakout session. She pulls it off. She gives you stuff that you can meet you chew on that you can take home and apply to your writing. But it's not that common. So what I found is finding more long-term, intense, specific sorts of trainings are the ones that will help. That's one thing I really had no interest in going to writing conferences. I was looking for something that's going to be a lot more in depth, and that's what I found in Annalisa's approach. Pretty much there's a lot of depth.
There is. And Andrew, you also went on a retreat. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? You actually just got back, what, two or 3 days ago at this point?
Yeah, a couple of days ago. My body still thinks it's London time. Yeah, so that was something I wasn't going to do. But our illustrious coach is very persistent. and she or mule-headed, as the case might be, but she finally convinced me that I should go, and I went with some good expectations. I had some things I expected to get from that retreat, and interestingly, it wasn't so much focused on my writing as it was on clarifying in my mind what my goals were and what I wanted to accomplish, and to work on my mindset a little bit in terms of dealing with my bigger life with my writing, and to really shore up some relationships with some good friends that I've made in the writing group. And I went over there, and all that happened, but so much more too. I mean, so I've done some online writing salons. I guess I've done up to that point 10 online writing salons with Annalisa. You get a lot. You get those every week in the writing gym, right? And they're wonderful. And I guess I have to put a little promotion in here. If somebody has a chance to do one of those online writing salons with Annalisa, if you want to write, you need to do that, because it will give you an experience in creativity in writing that most people don't have. And I learned from that. I learned how to use that model on my own self-talk when I've had writer's block or something. The same approach just totally gets right through it. Anyway, rambling aside, excuse me, the salons we did at the retreat were far, far more than those. There's a lot more depth, there's a lot of education. Just to give you a little bit of a exposure, we did quite a bit of work with the inner critic and recognizing, the inner critic role and how to deal with that, and recognizing and writing for audience and things. Annalisa is always a teacher, so there was always that going on. But And then, several writing exercises every day that went with that. And that was really actually, surprisingly, it was a lot more impactful on me than I thought it would be. Just some really great stuff. And then, the bonding with everybody. We had some excursions. I mean, we had one day where we went out along the coast of Bristol Bay with a couple people from Coleridge Poet Society, and they took us around and showed us where some of these romantic poets had been inspired, and walked where some of them walked. I wrote a piece that I felt really was inspired by that because of that. You hear the word retreat. My initial thought was kind of a vacation, and it was, but it's definitely a working vacation, and it just turned out to be far, far more than I expected. I can't speak highly enough of it. Again, just like the salons, just like the writing gym, if you have a chance to go on an Annalisa Parent retreat, I promise you it will change you for the better, and it will change your writing for the better.
Yeah, and for those of you who are looking, the salons aren't only just a part of the Writing Gym VIP and the Publishing Mastermind. They're also a part in the Right to Publish Facebook group. Once every couple of months or so, Annalisa will host a public salon, and she will take, the first 15, 20 writers to sign up in the group of thousands. So you got to be quick. As soon as you see those, you need to sign up immediately. And you can be a part of a salon at no cost to you, just to get the experience and see, how just 20, 30 minutes of your time can make such a significant difference in your writing. How was, as far as you guys took the retreat in England, and you started out in London, and then you stayed at a manor home in Devon, right?
Yeah, it's a couple miles, a couple of hours to do a train west of London. So you're getting over towards the west coast.
Yeah. What was it like? You talked briefly about it, but I'd love you to elaborate a little more on the relationships that you've built through, doing the Writing Gym VIP program and going on the retreat, the writers that you've met and the people you've connected with. What are those relationships like, Andrew?
Yeah, lifelong friends are made. It's most of those people I knew through our banter and our interactions with the Facebook group. Some of us tend to be a little obnoxious and social, but when you go focused on the same thing with people and you experience from day to day the same thing, we're all taking risks because you're writing and sharing your writing every day. That kind of, you get connections with people, and then on top of that, we spend time talking personal stuff and things like that. And that was one of the things I was hoping to take away from it. I knew there's one person that I went that I didn't really know, and I do now, and we are friends. I think we're always going to be friends. And if you want to talk about having support in a lonely world of writers, making friends with people who are kind of where you're at and who understand, and that kind of support is priceless, really.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the Writing Gym especially, but also like even just the Facebook group and Right to Publish. Annalisa and myself and the rest of her team. Every person that wants to become a member of that site, like, we look at you. We look at your Facebook profile. We check out all that stuff when you try to be a member. Like, we work very hard to establish, a community of writers that will support and uplift each other. And the reason that, Annalisa and I tell you guys the beginning and end of every single one of these podcasts to go to datewiththemuse.com/book a call, it's because to even be considered for a Writing Gym VIP program, you have to talk to Annalisa. You get a free call with her for, half an hour, 45 minutes. And, she listens to where you're at with your writing and what program will be best for you and how she can help you. And that's so different than, just signing up online for a class that, there's no face-to-face or conversational kind of interaction at all.
Right.
She talks to you and she says, what are you writing? What are you working on? Where are you at in your writing? Have you finished a book? Have you finished a different book? Do you like short stories? What genre are you writing in? Are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? Do you outline and then kind of pants? How do you work? And all of that stuff informs the rest of your experience with her. And then all of your experiences inform your interactions with everybody in your VIP group. And, each group that comes through stays so close, like via, the Right to Publish group or even in like the private VIP groups. I love seeing the way that you guys all support each other and how, we all talk about the fact that, soon, and we've done this before as people publish, I've gone out and purchased their book. I'm ordering this one now because this person published. Oh, well, this person is going to release this on this date. And, going to book release parties for each other, even if they're across the country, that's happened. I know that we had a couple members recently when Annalisa did storytelling for Pantsers. Everybody went to a bunch of her book signings when she was all around the country doing book signings. So building that kind of camaraderie and that kind of friendship that is a friendship, but it's also a professional relationship, that these are the people that are going to support you in your career as you move forward. Like, I love that part of the writing gym.
Yeah, I think in terms, sometimes the term friend has a lot of meanings depending who you're talking to. But I think, the things that come with that, first of all, you have authenticity and the people involved. And there's just real caring. Everybody really likes each other, and there's a lot of support, and that support goes outside the group. I mean, there's not anyone who didn't want to be at one of Annalisa's book signings. Some of us live on the edge of the earth, so it's more difficult to make one, but it wasn't for lack of desire, right?
That is true. Andrew, it's been so fantastic. And so you have 2 completed books right now. You're working on revisions on both of them, right?
Yes.
So if you get through publishing, what year do you think can we look for your books in stores, Andrew?
I need to get into publishing mastermind because just like I didn't know how to write, I don't know how to revise. I mean, I'll get some revision done, but a lot of it just depends on the logistics of getting in that program with Annalisa. I'm just going to focus on the one novel, of course, for get it published, and then clean up the other one. And I've got a sequel to the other one that's about 3/4 of the way done as well. So, in terms of time, I'm not really involved. How long will I query before I find the right agent? Once an agent takes it and a publisher's going to publish it, how long does it take before it actually gets on the shelf? I don't know. I'd like to see a book on the shelf next spring this time.
That would be amazing. I think you can do it.
Yeah.
And of course, as soon as you do publish, everyone who's listening to this, go out and join the Right to Publish Facebook group, because the instant that Andrew publishes, we will put posts and posts and posts about where Andrew is and when he's doing his own book signings, and then you can all show up for his as well.
Yeah, we'll have a party. Come let me sign your book. Or my book, as the case might be.
Yeah, it will be your book. That's so exciting, Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us and just sharing your experiences with us. It's really been fantastic.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it.
And for the rest of our listeners, make sure and join the Right to Publish Facebook group so that we can keep an eye out for Andrew's books. You could publish if you only knew how. Andrew has given us some great advice on his own experiences, but if you love the Writing Gym podcast and if you loved this particular podcast, you need to sign up for a call to talk to Annalisa about the Writing Gym. Please go to www.datewiththemuse.com/book-a-call to talk to Annalisa about where you are with your writing and which program is right for you. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Writing Gym podcast. Happy writing!